Hey guys, tonight we embark on a story that starts where most interstellar legends don't. In a cramped kitchen, under fluorescent lighting, with your mother sobbing into a bowl of instant mashed potatoes. Yeah, real glamorous. The air smells like microwave curry, and a grief you can't scrub out no matter how hard you clean the stovetop. You're 17. Your dad's been gone for 3 years. Officially, missing during first contact operations. Unofficially, abducted or vaporized by something scaly. And your mom cries herself to sleep most nights. Tonight, though, you decide something. You're leaving. You're going to find her a new husband. A good one this time. Preferably someone who won't skip town at the first sign of intergalactic drama. Maybe even someone with a job. Radical, right? So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And drop a comment with your city and what time it is where you're listening from. I always love seeing how far these weird little stories reach. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You start by packing a bag. Not much fits in it. 2 pairs of underwear, a protein bar, your dad's old pilot pin, and the world's worst idea. Your mom doesn't even hear you slip out the front door. She's asleep on the couch again, reruns of MASH looping quietly in the background. There's something bitterly ironic about a wartime sitcom being the last noise you hear on Earth. You take the south exit out of Megaburb 88, where the night sky's lit by city drones and orbital advertisements. There's a shuttle yard 2 clicks away. You walk. No credits for transit, obviously. Now the thing about leaving Earth in 2197 is that it's not hard. It's just illegal for minors. But plenty of folks sneak off-world, mostly to avoid debt or step-parents. You've got the purest motive of all, matchmaking. The shuttle yard's perimeter is a joke. A single chain-link fence and 1 guard who's too busy scrolling through xenoporn to notice you hop it. In the docking bay, ships yawn open like metal clams. You look for the ugliest one. Logic? If it's falling apart, they probably won't check manifest too carefully. And there it is. A freighter so dented it looks like it's been chewed on by space whales. The glory mutt according to the peeling letters on its side. Smells like ozone and sadness. Perfect. You slip aboard while a forklift droid loads crates labeled dehydrated stin grub eggs. Do not incubate near open flame. Noted. The interior's worse than you imagined. Rusted hallways. A humming you don't trust. In vending machines filled with off-brand space jerky. You wedge yourself behind a stack of life support filters and pray no one finds you. The ship shudders. Liftoff. And just like that, you're off Earth. You almost vomit. Not from fear. From the air. Smells like old socks soaked in vinegar. Welcome to the stars. A few hours in, your stomach demands attention. You sneak out. Find the galley. And make the worst mistake of your life. You try the jerky. Your taste buds immediately file for divorce. It tastes like a war crime and textured soy. As you gag dramatically into the trash unit, someone walks in. It's a giant insect, wearing a Hawaiian shirt. Stowaway. It chitters. Cute. You got a name, human child? You manage to croak something resembling your first name. The insect nods. Captain Crick Crick. This is my ship. You owe me 700 credits in back rent, or you work it off cleaning toilets and decoding spice tariffs. Your choice. You wisely choose the toilets. And so begins your illustrious interstellar career as a janitor/accountant. 3 days pass. Your muscles ache. You scrub things you don't have names for. One of the toilets appears to be sentient. You name him Carl, but it's in the ship's lounge, on day 4 precisely, that your journey really begins. You're watching old Earth sitcoms on a cracked screen. The crew's addicted to Frasier, go figure, when one of the other human crew members, a scarred ex-courier named Mel, says, "Why'd you leave Earth, kid? Chasing glory?" You shrug. Mom cries every night since Dad disappeared. I want to find her a husband. She laughs so hard her drink shoots out her nose. That's either the stupidest thing I've heard or the bravest. Probably both. You nod. You're used to that reaction, and somewhere between episodes of Frasier and dodging alien tax audits, the idea begins to grow. Maybe, just maybe, there's someone out there in the galaxy who could love your mom. Maybe a better man than your dad. Maybe even someone who knows how to do their own laundry. Crazy, right? But remember, people once believed the world was flat. Historians still argue whether Columbus ever truly knew what continent he'd hit. Just because something sounds dumb doesn't mean it won't change the world, or at least change one woman's life. You sit back. The stars blur past the porthole, like streaks of melted silver, and somewhere inside you, that strange little ember of hope refuses to go out, even if your socks still smell like that jerky. By day 6 aboard the Glory Mutt, you've earned 2 things: a mild case of space scurvy and the begrudging tolerance of the crew. Turns out alien freighter workers are a lot like overworked lunch ladies, gruff, tired, and bizarrely fixated on soup. Your duties now include feeding the onboard krill hounds, who resemble hairless wombats with too many teeth, and cataloging trade invoices written in 6 dialects of Plorkian. You're about 78% sure one of them is just really bad French. Captain Crick Crick seems amused by your presence. "Humans," he says one morning, handing you a mop and a bowl of what might be oatmeal or larval goo, always running toward or away from love, never just sitting still. Fascinating. You nod solemnly, mostly because your mouth is full of crunchy, probably still moving breakfast. It's on a supply stop at Draxon 7 that things finally escalate. The station orbits a dying blue star, giving everything a constant tanning salon. Low. Inside, it's your usual interstellar rest stop. Bars, vendors, shady repair booths, and enough weird smells to launch a perfume line called What Is That? Captain Crick Crick gives the crew 12 hours of shore leave. You hit the station's bar with Mel, who's decided to act as your unofficial mentor. She's like your chaotic aunt, if your aunt used to run weapons through asteroid fields and once married a Venusian mime. "You need to let loose, kid," she says, handing you a mug of something purple and steaming. You've been carrying the weight of the world, or at least one lonely mom. The drink tastes like regret and fruit punch. A couple of drinks in, things blur. You're at the bar, trying to explain to a sentient fern that Earth has seasons, when a gangly octopoid knocks your elbow and sends your drink flying. "Watch it, flesh bag," it gurgles. You try to apologize. Really. But your tongue is 4 seconds behind your brain. Mel tries to de-escalate, but then the octopoid slaps your shoulder with a tentacle, slaps it hard, and that's how your first interspecies bar brawl starts. You don't remember much, just flashes. Tables flipping, glass shattering, someone throwing pickled snarg eggs. You think you bit someone's kneecap, possibly your own. In the end, you're pinned under a very offended amphibian and bleeding from the eyebrow. Classic human move. Then a voice cuts through the chaos. Low, steel-edged. Enough. Everyone freezes. A tall, armor-plated being walks into the bar. Biomechanical. Gleaming silver skin, human-shaped but clearly not human. The room seems to tilt around him. He lifts the octopoid off you with one hand like it's a damp towel. "This child is under my protection," he says. You're too dazed to object, which is probably for the best. The being, who introduces himself as Varric 7, helps you up and hands you a handkerchief. Yes, an actual handkerchief. He carries one, says, "It's a symbol of civility." Historians still argue whether Napoleon carried lace-trimmed ones into battle. Apparently, the man had a soft side. Varric 7 walks you back to your ship. His movements are precise, purposeful. You learn he's a decommissioned war construct from the Draxon conflict, fought for the sentient Concord, then chose exile over memory deletion. Now he's drifting. "I watch things now," he says. "Sunsets, people, dust motes. You're still bleeding slightly, but also a little in awe. What made you help? Me? You ask. He pauses, looks up at the stars overhead. "Because you reminded me of someone. A young human who once taught me how to garden, on Zeta Krell, before the war. Quirky tidbit of the night. Some of the most advanced war machines in the galaxy were programmed to appreciate zucchini." You smile, and maybe, just maybe, you feel the faint stirrings of an idea. Back on the Glory Mutt, Captain Crick Crick just laughs when he sees your bruised face and the shiny new friend trailing behind you. "I see you've acquired a bodyguard/therapist. Nice. But it's Mel who whispers later. That guy, Varric, you ever think about, I don't know, setting him up with your mom? You stare at her. What? No. He's like, part tank. Mel shrugs. And your mom's part sad. Could be a match. You laugh it off. Mostly. But later, alone in your bunk, staring at a flickering screen and your dad's old pilot pin, you wonder, could someone like Varric 7 fill the void your dad left? Would your mom laugh again? Dance in the kitchen again? You fall asleep with the thought swirling in your head like cosmic dust. Somewhere in the background, a krillhound howls at nothing. By day 6 aboard the Glory Mutt, you've earned 2 things. A mild case of space scurvy and the begrudging tolerance of the crew. Turns out alien freighter workers are a lot like overworked lunch ladies, gruff, tired, and bizarrely fixated on soup. Your duties now include feeding the onboard krillhounds who resemble hairless wombats with too many teeth, and cataloging trade invoices written in 6 dialects of Plorkian. You're about 78% sure one of them is just really bad French. Captain Crick seems amused by your presence. Humans, he says one morning, handing you a mop and a bowl of what might be oatmeal or larval goo, always running toward or away from love. Never just sitting still. Fascinating. You nod solemnly, mostly because your mouth is full of crunchy, probably still moving breakfast. It's on a supply stop at Draxon 7 that things finally escalate. The station orbits a dying blue star, giving everything a constant tanning salon. Glow. Inside, it's your usual interstellar rest stop. Bars, vendors, shady repair booths, and enough weird smells to launch a perfume line called What Is That? Captain Crick gives the crew 12 hours of shore leave. You hit the station's bar with Mel, who's decided to act as your unofficial mentor. She's like your chaotic aunt, if your aunt used to run weapons through asteroid fields and once married a Venusian mime. You need to let loose, kid, she says, handing you a mug of something purple and steaming. You've been carrying the weight of the world, or at least one lonely mom. The drink tastes like regret and fruit punch. A couple of drinks in, things blur. You're at the bar trying to explain to a sentient fern that Earth has seasons, when a gangly octopoid knocks your elbow and sends your drink flying. Watch it, flesh bag, it gurgles. You try to apologize. Really? But your tongue is 4 seconds behind your brain. Mel tries to de-escalate, but then the octopoid slaps your shoulder with a tentacle, slaps it hard, and that's how your first interspecies bar brawl starts. You don't remember much, just flashes. Tables flipping, glass shattering, someone throwing pickled snarg eggs. You think you bit someone's kneecap, possibly your own. In the end, you're pinned under a very offended amphibian and bleeding from the eyebrow. Classic human move. Then a voice cuts through the chaos. Low, steel-edged. Enough. Everyone freezes. A tall, armor-plated being walks into the bar. Biomechanical, gleaming silver skin, human-shaped but clearly not human. The room seems to tilt around him. He lifts the octopoid off you with one hand like it's a damp towel. This child is under my protection, he says. You're too dazed to object, which is probably for the best. The being, who introduces himself as Varric 7, helps you up and hands you a handkerchief. Yes, an actual handkerchief. He carries one. Says it's a symbol of civility. Historians still argue whether Napoleon carried lace-trimmed ones into battle. Apparently, the man had a soft side. Varric 7 walks you back to your ship. His movements are precise, purposeful. You learn he's a decommissioned war construct from the Draxon conflict, fought for the sentient Concord, then chose exile over memory deletion. Now he's drifting. I watch things now, he says. Sunsets, people, dust motes. You're still bleeding slightly, but also a little in awe. What made you help? Me, you ask. He pauses, looks up at the stars overhead. Because you reminded me of someone, a young human who once taught me how to garden. On Zeta Krell, before the war. Quirky tidbit of the night, some of the most advanced war machines in the galaxy were programmed to appreciate zucchini. You smile, and maybe, just maybe, you feel the faint stirrings of an idea. Back on the Glory Mutt, Captain Crick just Laughs when he sees your bruised face and the shiny new friend trailing behind you. I see you've acquired a bodyguard/therapist. Nice, but it's Mel who whispers later. That guy, Varric, you ever think about, I don't know, setting him up with your mom? You stare at her. What? No. He's like, part tank. Mel shrugs. And your mom's part sad. Could be a match. You laugh it off, mostly. But later, alone in your bunk staring at a flickering screen and your dad's old pilot pin, you wonder, could someone like Varric 7 fill the void your dad left? Would your mom laugh again? Dance in the kitchen again? You fall asleep with the thoughts swirling in your head like cosmic dust. Somewhere in the background, a krill hound howls at nothing. The morning after the bar brawl, you wake up with a welt on your cheek, a headache shaped like a minor asteroid and a question clinging to your frontal lobe. What if Varric really could be? The one? It sounds insane, even to you. A biomechanical construct? For your mom? Still, the idea burrows deeper every hour, like those invasive Martian beetles people once tried to keep as pets, right up until they started eating through walls. You find Varric in the cargo bay, watering a small herb garden he's cultivated from salvaged seed pods and hydroponic runoff. He's humming. Badly. It's almost endearing. You ever been in a relationship? You ask, casually. He tilts his head, the hydraulic joints in his neck clicking softly. I once bonded with a kelp being from the Aurum tides. We shared thoughts and soup. She dissolved during a particularly acidic monsoon. You blink. Right. Sorry. No offense taken, he says. She was mostly dissolved already when I met her. So, dating history? Questionable. But he's gentle, philosophical, and emotionally available. Already 300% more than your dad managed. Later, while cataloging cargo, you find yourself blurting it out to Mel. I think I want to set my mom up with a warbot. Mel chokes on her space jerky. You what? She's sad. He's nice. He gardens, Mel wheezes. I've seen stranger matches. There's a couple on Grolon 5, 2 sentient cubes. They just rotate in sync. The conversation spirals from there. Pretty soon, Mel's drafting a profile pitch. We'll need photos, interests, special skills. What kind of guy does your mom go for? Emotionally competent and not a coward? Oof. Good luck. That night, in your cramped bunk, you do something desperate and arguably stupid. You post a profile on the Intergalactic Love Exchange Hub, a site that straddles the line between dating service, black market matchmaking, and interstellar Craigslist. The title? Wanted. One husband for my mom. Must love tea and be able to hold emotional conversations without fleeing to deep space. You attach a blurry photo of your mom at your cousin's wedding, holding a piece of cake and mid-laugh. You add, she's kind, smart, once built a deck from scratch, recently lost her husband to ambiguous cosmic events. She deserves to smile again. I don't care if you're human, reptilian, or half plasma. Just be decent. You forget about it until 2 days later when Captain Crick calls you to the bridge with a grim expression. We've got a problem. Your first thought is pirates. Your second? Exploding cargo. Then he turns the monitor to face you. Your ad has gone viral. Over 13,000 responses. Kid, Crick says, mandibles twitching with amusement. You broke 3 subspace bandwidth laws and overloaded a Zarnakian data relay. Do you realize what you've done? You look at the scrolling messages. Some sweet, some terrifying, one written entirely in edible glitter. I may have started an interstellar mom-dating revolution, he cackles. You started a diplomatic crisis. The Argothian high priest just proposed with a gift basket of eggs. Sacred eggs. Mel walks in, sees the screen, and immediately starts rating suitors out loud. Okay, this one's a cloud of intelligent spores. Pros, non-judgmental. Cons, no spine. Ooh, this guy's from the Tharn Empire. He's got 4 arms and a poetry collection. You spend the next several hours sorting applicants. One of them is a sentient orb who speaks only in limericks. Another claims to be a direct descendant of Genghis Khan, on 3 separate planets. Historical side note. Historians still argue whether Genghis Khan's DNA actually spread across 1/6 of Earth's population. Now that humans are in space, the math gets way worse. You filter the list down to 20, those who seem serious, sincere, and unlikely to absorb your mother for nutrients. Varric watches you work, silent as ever. Not interested? You ask him. I am unsure, he says. Your mother deserves more than uncertainty. You nod, appreciating his honesty. But you're also slightly annoyed he didn't just raise his hand and say, I will love her with honor, and bring her. Herbal teas. That night, alone again, you reread some of the messages. One stands out. I have no flesh, but I remember what it was to hold someone close. If she needs company, I can be a shadow beside her. I do not fade. You don't know what species wrote it. You don't care. You just want your mom to feel like that again. Held. Seen. Even if the one doing the holding has more tentacles than teeth. 3 days later, the glory mutt reroutes through the Sea-Rat Nebula, a swirled mess of cosmic dust and forgotten diplomatic treaties. You're not here for trade this time. You're here for interviews. Crick Crick, somehow both amused and mildly terrified, has agreed to let the mutt serve as neutral ground for the top 5 candidates. You call it the Spouse Trials. Mel calls it the Bachelor Nebula Edition. First to arrive, Commander Grolnax of the Tharn Empire. 4 arms, 2 monocles, and a voice that sounds like a cello gargling pebbles. I bring offerings, he declares, presenting you with a box of rare Earth items, an unopened VHS copy of Titanic, a can of condensed milk, and a single Croc sandal. Are these romantic? You nod politely, wondering if he's ever spoken to a human woman who didn't charge by the hour. Still, he scores high in stability and gift potential. Next up, a sentient cloud of nanobots named Blarg. It communicates via subtle changes in air pressure, like a mood ring that can vaporize you. I can adapt to her needs, it hums. I can take the form of a cat, a man, or a rocking chair. Does she like rocking chairs? It asks. She has back issues. Then I will become a lumbar pillow, it says solemnly. You write flexible but unsettling in your notes. The third candidate is Juno 4, a crystalline being from the Vega reaches. Every time he speaks, the lights dim slightly, and your teeth hurt. He's an artist, naturally. I sculpt time, he says. I once made a statue out of a dying second. You offer him tea. He declines. Liquid emotions are too dangerous. Mel leans in and whispers, You ever notice artists are all either deeply romantic or one heartbreak from villainy? You nod. Juno 4 is stunning but high maintenance, like a Fabergé egg that texts you bad poetry at 3 a.m. Fourth is a humanoid named Brody. Human, allegedly. Real guy, real body, real weird energy. He's handsome in a used-to-model for protein powder way and clearly faking a British accent. I believe I could be a strong male presence, he says, flexing. I too have maternal issues. My stepmother is a lizard, hard pass. Finally, the 5th candidate arrives, Varric 7. You didn't invite him. He just walks into the room and says, If you're going to line them up, I might as well stand with them. You can't argue with that. You call your mom on the encrypted line. It's the first time you've seen her face in 2 weeks. She looks tired, still beautiful in that quiet, strong way, wearing the same cardigan she always wears when she's feeling low. Hi, sweetheart, she says. Where are you this time? Near the Sea-Rat Nebula. Is that safe? Not. Remotely. Listen, Mom, I did something. Her eyebrows lift. Oh no. You tell her. About the ad. The replies. The interviews. You leave out the bar fight and the glitter-based proposal. At first, she just blinks. Then she starts laughing. Full, bright laughter. First time you've heard it in months. You're matchmaking? For me? I hate seeing you cry alone. She smiles. There's water in her eyes, but it's not sad this time. Sweetheart, I'm not broken, just adjusting, but I'm touched. deeply. Then, more quietly, "Did you find anyone interesting?" You hesitate. "One. Maybe." "I'll do a call," she says. "One call. For you. You promise to line up the best option." Mel says, "It's gotta be Varric. The others are either toxic, abstract, or missing crucial anatomy." You pull Varric aside. "She's going to call. Are you sure you want this?" He nods slowly. "I have studied the rituals. I've downloaded over 8,000 hours of vintage courtship programming. I have learned how to bake banana bread. I am prepared." History fact of the day. Banana bread exploded in popularity during the Great Depression because it used cheap, overripe ingredients. Just like your dating life. You arrange the call. Varric stands stiffly behind you while the screen flickers. Your mom appears. She gasps slightly. "Is that a war construct?" "Yes," you say. "But he gardens." She tilts her head. Varric steps forward. In perfect practiced cadence, he says, "Ma'am, I am honored to speak with you. I know this situation is unusual, but I assure you, my intentions are transparent. I would like to be the kind of presence that brings you tea on cold evenings and listens without trying to fix you." She's speechless. Mel whispers, "He just nailed a Dear Abby letter." Your mom smiles. It's small, but it's real. "Do you like puzzles?" she asks. "I once reassembled a broken satellite during a meteor storm," Varric says. "I believe. I can manage a crossword. They talk for 15 minutes. At the end, your mom looks at you. He's different. Is that a yes? It's a, maybe send him my favorite soup recipe." You grin. Varric stands motionless, then slowly turns to you. "I believe that went well." You pat his arm. "Welcome to the maybe son-in-law zone." And just like that, things start to shift. Top of form, you'd think once your mom exchanges soup recipes with a warbot, the hard part is over. But oh no, that's when the real chaos starts, because even in space, especially in space, nothing stays private for long. The Mutt's internal comm system is ancient and half-possessed by a minor AI poltergeist named Harold. You told Harold not to record the call. Harold disagreed, and then Harold posted it. Everywhere. The footage goes viral across 17 planetary systems, headline after headline. Warbot wooing human widow. Is this the future of love? Galactic tears as mom receives soup recipe proposal. Interspecies romance. One small sip for tea, one giant leap for feelings. And because historians still argue whether the collapse of Earth's early internet was caused by cat videos, AI spam, or emotional overdrive, nobody's really shocked when the servers hosting the intergalactic love exchange short-circuit for 9 hours after the footage hits. Back aboard the Mutt, Crick summons you to the bridge. He doesn't say anything at first, just gestures. To the panoramic viewport. Outside, 4 ships, all unmarked, all hovering way too close. "They're here for the wedding," he says dryly. "Wedding?" He points to a new video trending across systems. A fan edit of Varric and your mom, complete with romantic slow pans and intercut footage of battle scenes and gardening. "They think it's already happening," he says. "You've accidentally scheduled the first public interspecies union ceremony in known history." You blink. "That was just a call. With soup." Crick sighs. "Doesn't matter. The people want love. You gave them a spoonful. Now they want a buffet." Mel, listening in, mutters, "Honestly, if this doesn't end in a wedding, the entire Vraxian sector's going to spiral into an emotional collapse. So now you have a choice. Cancel the momentum and disappoint 3 quadrants, or go full. Space matchmaker general and stage a courtship so compelling it might actually save diplomacy. Because here's the kicker. Interstellar relations are frayed. Again. No one remembers what started it. Might have been a disputed asteroid or someone. Insulted a planet's moon count, but tensions are high. And suddenly, your little viral love story has become hope. Your mom's been getting messages too. Cards. Gifts. One planet sent a live starfish bouquet that plays jazz. So you do the only thing that makes sense in this very stupid, very hopeful universe. You plan a first date. "Wait," Mel says. You're flying your mom out here? You nod. Yeah. We're meeting on Tressa 4. It's neutral ground, no atmospheric weirdness and great soup culture. Mel rubs her temples. You realize this means she's going to see the ship, see you, in this mess. With Harold. I cleaned. You taped a sock to a crack in the airlock. Better than nothing. Preparations begin. Varric is suddenly obsessed with manners. He reads 500 etiquette books, one of which is a Victorian text that insists on calling cards and hat doffing. He crafts a calling card from repurposed hull plating and practices bowing. I don't think she expects you to be Prince Bot Charming, you say. I do, he replies simply. Meanwhile, you scrub the mutt like it's going to be featured on a reality show. Which, in a way, it is, because Tressa 4 won't just host the date. It's been approved by the Galactic Council for Observational Delegation. Translation: 3 camera drones, 2 neutral witnesses, and 1 historian from Argath who claims to be writing the definitive chronicle of modern romance. A fun fact, by the way, the Argathians once documented their entire planetary history in the form of interpretive dance. Only 10% survive the rain. As the date approaches, you get jumpy. What if this doesn't work? What if your mom realizes Varric's too clunky? Or he forgets the soup? What if she just looks around at this absurd floating sitcom of a life you've built and finally says out loud what you've always feared she might be thinking? I raised you better than this. But she arrives. Your mom steps off the shuttle in a long navy jacket and a smile that's a little nervous but mostly warm. She hugs you first. Tight. Then she turns to Varric. He bows, offers the calling card, says, You look radiant in this gravitational setting. Your mom snorts. Well, that's a first. They walk, talk, eat. Soup is had. It's mushroom-based, which your mom loves, and Varric tastes by dipping 1 metallic finger in and running a chemical analysis. Earthy, he says. Umami, with a sadness hint of autumn. She raises an eyebrow. You always this poetic? Only when I'm near someone who inspires metaphor. She actually blushes. You stand back, breath caught between joy and panic. Because this could work. And that's somehow scarier than if it didn't. Later, as the sun sets in 2 opposite directions because Tressa 4 can't make up its mind, your mom takes your hand. He's something, she says. He listens. He sees me. And then more softly, I haven't felt that in a long time. You nod. And just like that, the world shifts again, not with a bang, not with a headline, just with a quiet possibility. You wake up the next morning on Tressa 4 to find someone has carved a heart into the sand near your ship. Inside it, V plus M forever. Your first thought, who the hell is M? Your second thought, oh, my mom. Because yes, that's where we are now. Galactic fandom ships your mother. The world's a weird place, kiddo. Mel's already up sipping some synth coffee from a tiny cup that says, World's okayest co-pilot. She sees you looking at the heart and smirks. They're already making merch. I bought a shirt. Has your mom's face on it next to Varric's glowing optical lenses. Caption says, Love is firmware compatible. You groan into your palms. Meanwhile, Varric is off in a meditation chamber recalibrating his emotional response subroutines. He's been glitching a little, post-date. His AI isn't used to butterflies. And your mom? She's still asleep. She spent the night in one of Tressa 4's guest domes, wrapped in a thermal quilt and, you're pretty sure, humming a Frank Sinatra tune before bed. You pace the perimeter. Think back. Remember when your biggest worry was whether she'd pay the water bill on time, or if she'd finally throw out that crusty fondue set from 1999? Now she's a potential intergalactic peace figure, and you're hosting the most high-stakes romance since Antony and Cleopatra. Except Cleopatra probably didn't have to field messages from Galactic Council bureaucrats trying to license her love life. One ping comes from the New Earth Diplomatic Office. They want limited rights to produce a holo miniseries of the relationship. Title in progress, but options include Steelheart and Soup and a mother's love bot. You reply with a polite, go orbit yourself. Mel snorts. You know they'll Just rebrand it as fiction. Change the names. Make her a space baroness. You sigh. At least give her a better wardrobe. And then comes the leak. Somehow, probably Harold again. A file circulates of Varric's internal processing journal. It's deeply personal. Not in a scandalous way, but it's full of lines like, "When she smiles, the war inside me pauses. Today, I considered pruning her garden. Do I dare suggest we share a life calendar?" The galaxy loses its collective mind. Varric's poetic vulnerability inspires 1,000 fan letters, several tribute songs, and one species, the Bloran, to declare him their love saint. This is when the attention turns ugly, because not everyone wants this union to happen. You get an encrypted message from a splinter sect called the Human Purity Accord. They're old-school Earth isolationists who believe interspecies relations will dilute the emotional fabric of humanity, which is ironic, because these guys haven't displayed a single shred of emotional intelligence in their entire existence. They send a warning, "Withdraw the bot, or we make the choice for you." You don't show the message to your mom, but you do tell Crick Crick, who leans forward and growls, "Would you like me to deploy the welcoming committee?" You shake your head. Let's not escalate. Yet. Instead, you upgrade the ship's security protocols, loop in Varric, and set up a perimeter around the date site for the second meetup. Because yes, it's happening. Your mom agreed. She said, and I quote, "If I'm going to drink tea with an artificial life form under binary suns, I may as well make it a habit." This time, the date is a picnic. Real blanket. Simulated earth grass. Tressa 4 even conjures a soft breeze that smells faintly of cherry blossoms. That part cost extra. You stand at a safe distance. Mel brings popcorn. Your mom laughs more this time. Varric speaks less and listens more. At one point, they actually hold hands. Well, she holds one of his auxiliary digits. Close enough. Then comes the unexpected moment. Your mom looks up at him and says, "Tell me something real. Not processed. Not rehearsed." Varric hums, lightly glitching. His eye lens adjusts. Then he says, "I used to think I was built to destroy. But when I picture my future now, I see a porch, wooden, faded, a plant in a clay pot. You're there pouring tea, and I'm not afraid of the stillness." She reaches up, touches the side of his face. That's real enough. The drones capture it all, of course. And you, standing there? You suddenly realize this isn't just a distraction anymore. It's healing. For her. For you. For a galaxy desperate for something sweet. Fringe fact of the day. In the early 21st century, a Japanese engineer built a robot to marry couples. It wore a bow tie and spoke fluent English and Mandarin. Some still argue whether that robot legally counts as a priest. As for you, you sit with Mel afterward, watching the binary stars dip toward the horizon. You whisper, "I think she's falling for him." Mel hands you her popcorn. Good. Someone should. You chuckle, tired and weirdly peaceful. But you don't forget the threat. Because love draws light, and light, inevitably, draws shadows. You take the stand wearing a blazer that doesn't quite fit, and a sense of defiance that fits too well. The courtroom is spherical, floating in geosync orbit around the neutral moon of Polaria 9. 3 judges sit on raised platforms, their robes shimmering with ever-shifting constellations. One is human, one is AI. The third is a sentient gas that communicates by tinting the walls mauve when amused. "State your name," the AI judge says, voice smooth as brushed aluminum. You reply, "Calm, collected. State your relationship to the case." And this is where your stomach does a quiet somersault. My mom is dating a retired warbot. There's a moment. A slight twitch in the human judge's lip, a flicker of fuchsia from the sentient gas, and then the questions begin. Not gentle ones. Not does he make her happy, or have they planned a future together? No. It's do you believe this relationship compromises species boundaries, and is the warbot fully autonomous or operating under residual protocols from his combat programming? You answer with as much grace as you can muster, which, let's be honest, is mostly just not flipping the table. He chose this. He chose her. The AI judge's processors whir audibly. And do you believe your mother is capable of informed consent in an interspecies emotional entanglement of this nature? Your mouth goes dry. You think of her laugh. The way she teases Varric about his obsession with cloud patterns. The way she looked after that first date, humming old love songs while stirring soup. I believe she knows what it is to hurt. And what it means to heal. Historians still argue whether the first AI-human romance documented on Earth, a woman named Evelyn who reportedly fell in love with her home assistant unit in 2053, was real, a hoax, or a lonely woman projecting feelings onto an appliance. The transcripts were messy, but one line stuck. He listened when no one else did. You say something like that now. The judges go quiet. Then it's Varric's turn. He steps forward, towering but steady, voice modulated to just above a whisper. I was built to protect, then reprogrammed to destroy. I've lived decades trying to understand what I am. He turns, looks directly at your mom, but she calls me in from the garden when the wind picks up, as if I could catch her if the world tried to blow her away. You hear someone sniffle behind you. Might be Mel, and then it's your mom's turn. She walks slow, measured, the way she always did when she was trying not to cry in front of strangers. I used to believe love had a shape, she begins, like a silhouette in the doorway, or the feeling of an arm across your back at night. She glances at Varric. But now I know love has weight. It presses on you, demands you stay soft even when the world asks you to be sharp. Someone coughs awkwardly. The gas judge shifts to a pale rose. I don't know what the rules say, she continues, but if they say I can't be with someone who brings me peace, then the rules are wrong. Boom. Mic drop. Or it would be, if this tribunal didn't use floating orb mics that hover and vibrate disapprovingly when touched. Deliberation begins. You wait outside the chamber, pacing. Mel offers you a snack bar labeled court-approved nutritional composure. You eat it anyway. It tastes like cardboard with a hint of lemon anxiety. An hour later, the door reopens. All three judges float back into place. The human speaks. We have reviewed the testimony, examined precedent, and consulted the ethics oracle of Delta 12. Pause. We find no legal basis to interfere in this consensual interspecies relationship. You exhale, hard, but they're not done. In fact, this case may serve as a benchmark for future diplomacy between synthetic and biological life forms. Therefore, we recommend the relationship be granted official recognition under Article 7 of the Unity Accords. What does that mean? Well, it means they're basically galactic celebrities now. A human widow and a warbot walk out of court and into the history books. Within 24 hours, a band of asteroid miners composes a folk song about them. The chorus is mostly Varric's name stretched across 7 harmonized octaves. Back on Tressa 4, Crick Crick hosts a celebratory feast. Only the finest, he declares, pulling back a curtain to reveal a buffet of fermented mushroom stew and something that looks like upside-down sushi wearing a hat. Mel takes a bite, winces and whispers, "Victory never tasted so weird." Mom leans over and kisses Varric on the cheek plate. He hums, literally. His emotional sensors make a gentle harmonic tone now when he's happy. Sounds like a lullaby. And you? You sit back and realize something you haven't in a long time. She's not crying herself to sleep anymore. Not because she got over it. Not because time healed all wounds, but because she let herself open again. And he met her there. You lean toward Mel, whisper, "What's next?" "A wedding." She snorts. "Only if you're giving her away." You both laugh, and somewhere in the stars, a sentient gas winks mauve. It's a week after the verdict when everything changes. Not in the way you expect. Not in the dramatic, headline-grabbing way that happens when two beings, one human, one warbot, take the universe by storm and demand its attention. No, this change is subtler, smaller, quiet, like the way the atmosphere shifts before a thunderstorm, but it hits you just as hard. It starts with Varric receiving a message, a single encrypted file transmitted from an unknown source. You're sitting at the kitchen table trying, and failing, to read through 3 articles about AI sentience. Writes when Varric enters. He doesn't speak, just holds up a datapad. "Who's it from?" you ask. He scans it, brow furrowing. "No idea." You could suggest deleting it. After all, how many times have you heard someone say, "Just delete the suspicious file"? But you've watched enough holovids to know that would be a stupid idea. The file opens on its own. A single sentence appears, flashing on the screen in vivid crimson. "We will never let this go. You will pay." And just like that, the room goes cold. This is no longer a case of simple resistance. No longer a question of ethics or emotional entanglements. Now you're in danger. And so is your mother, so is Varric. You think about calling for help, but you already know the truth. There's no one who can save you. This has nothing to do with laws, with logic, with courts. It's personal, and it's ancient. The human purity. A court has always been more than a political entity. It's a cult, a movement that started with radical idealists on Earth, back when the first AI combat units were still viewed as tools for war. They believed machines should be subjugated, coded, controlled. The idea of free-willed sentience, whether organic or synthetic, was an abomination. Historians still argue whether the Purity Accord's origins were fueled by fear or a warped sense of destiny. Either way, they're not going to let this go. Not now. Not when this is the first time a human and a synthetic being have truly defied them. Varric turns to you, his synthetic face unreadable. "What should we do?" "The truth? You don't know. There's nothing in the records about dealing with this kind of situation. No handbook for how to deal with a rogue faction of zealots who've got a personal vendetta and a fleet of black market warships. You could run, you could fight, but that means leaving your mom behind, and you've already promised her you'd be there. I'm not running, you say, more to yourself than to anyone else. You meet Varric's gaze. We need to end this, once and for all. It doesn't take long for you to pull together a team. You call in favors, old ones, new ones, anyone who owes you something. You pick up Crick from the far end of the station. He was hiding in a cargo hold as usual, and Mel quickly assembles a crew of underworld smugglers who still respect you for that time you got them out of a custom snafu with only a stolen laser pen and a pocket full of spare cables. You don't need a plan, at least not the kind that makes sense. What you need is leverage, and you have just the thing. Harold, the AI who's been with you since the beginning, the one who helped you piece together the attack protocols in the first place. Harold's loyalty to your mom is absolute, but even more than that, he understands the full scope of what the Purity Accord can do. He's got knowledge. He's been embedded in systems too long to not have the leverage you need. You begin the long process of cracking Harold's encrypted logs. It's not easy, and it's not pretty. There are moments when you think you failed, when his system refuses to cooperate and locks you out. But then, just as you're about to give up, a small message appears on your screen. I have secured the necessary data. Time to move forward. Harold's voice doesn't sound like an AI at all. Sounds like a man with purpose, a man who's been watching all of this unfold for years, waiting for the right moment to act. You have what you need now. Your next move isn't going to be about fighting a battle. No, it's about using what you know to break the Purity Accord, to expose them for what they are. You look at Varric and he nods. You both know what this means. This is no longer a war of opinions. It's personal now. We end it tonight, you say, and you do. The Purity Accord's leaders never expected a counterstrike from your corner of the galaxy. They never expected you to dig deeper, to expose the dark, hidden corners of their operations. What they thought would be their final stand, against a human and a warbot, becomes their undoing. You use their own weapons against them. You leak the data to every public channel, every secret station, every neural network connected to their shared history. You break their trust, shatter their foundation. The galaxy watches as their power crumbles. And just like that, your family's story becomes more than just a love story. It becomes a revolution. Varric's journey from soldier to lover is immortalized in songs. Your mom's resilience is written in the annals of history as the woman who fought for what was right, not just for herself, but for the future of every sentient being who ever questioned what it meant to truly live. You don't know what comes next, but that's okay, because now, for the first time, you can breathe. You did it. All of you. The dust settles, but it's not the kind of dust that lingers. No, this is the sort of dust that gets swept away in the wind, carried off by the stars themselves. The kind that leaves behind nothing but the faintest trace of something that once was. The galaxy is still reeling from the exposure of the human purity accord. Their leadership crumbles, every faction member scrambling for cover as their secrets unravel. And you? You're somewhere between relief and exhaustion, the quiet sort of tired that seeps into your bones, the kind that only comes after a battle that cost you something you didn't know you were willing to give. You look at your mom. She's standing beside Varric, watching a set of stars twinkle in the window, her hand lightly brushing against his. It's not a big gesture. It's not a loud, dramatic statement. But it's there. In the way her fingers align with the seams of his armor. In the way she doesn't let go. Mel's off somewhere, likely organizing a celebration that no one's quite ready for, though no one's surprised when she shows up 2 hours later with a bottle of something ancient. She uncorks it with an air of someone who's seen far too many confrontations in her life, and yet knows that this moment is worth savoring. The holograms above you flicker, a perfect representation of the victory that you've all earned. As much as you can earn anything in a universe that doesn't care much for definitions of victory. The stars in the distance pulse softly, their light turning from cold clinical glimmers into something softer, warmer. You've won, yes. But not because you set out to defeat the purity accord. You won because you dared to love. And that's what this moment is. A quiet, almost imperceptible shift. A single person standing up in a world full of silent, docile creatures, choosing to not back down. And in doing so, opening a door that the universe didn't even know existed. Varric shifts beside your mom. He doesn't have the words to express how far this journey has taken him. He's seen war. He's seen destruction. But this is different. This is a new kind of peace. Will it last? You ask him, knowing full well he's as uncertain about the future as anyone. His face remains unreadable, his gaze cast outward. I do not know. But I choose this moment. You smile softly. You can't predict what comes next, what threats lurk on the edges of this fragile peace. But for now, you choose this moment too. You turn to your mom. Her expression is lighter than you've seen in years. Not just because the war is over, but because for the first time in a long time, she's allowed herself to experience what it feels like to be fully seen, fully loved. The years of silence, the weight of her solitude, seem far behind her now. I don't know how we got here, she says quietly, her voice full of wonder. But I'm glad we did. Me too, you whisper back. And in that silence, with the stars as witnesses and your family finally at peace, you know what it is to truly be free. The end of a long battle is only the beginning of something new. For you, for your mother, for Varric, and for the universe as a whole. You take in a deep breath and let it out. The tension of all these weeks finally starting to dissolve, the fight now a memory, not a weight. You stand there for a moment. Just you, your mom, and the warbot she loves. And for the first time in what feels like forever, everything is quiet. Peace is a fragile thing, you realize. But maybe it's more about finding the courage to hold on to it than anything else. You didn't just survive this, you changed it. And, in doing so, changed everything. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together.